This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. There is a new movie coming out, Megalopolis. That's right, Megalopolis. Not to be confused with the film that most of you already know about, which I will discuss in this video as well, Metropolis. But they're very, very similar. And the common theme you see in these films is Babylon. The building of the Tower of Babel, or the structuring and building out of these cities, which eventually we will see as smart cities, but the rebuilding of Babylon and the construction of the Tower of Babel. That is the common theme. And I will read for you the plot and show you some of the things that are in this trailer and the comparisons between Megalopolis and Metropolis. So the movie follows the city of New Rome, an allegory for New York City, in which Adam Driver's architect, Caesar Catalina, squares off with a regressive status quo mayor, Franklin Cesaro, as well as radical renegade Claudio Pulcher, in the hopes of building a utopian society. That is what this has always been about. But a utopian society, in their eyes, is a society in which everybody is equal. Everybody is a slave under the ruling class. And that is the theme of this film. But they love to market this notion of smart cities now, which are the modern day Babylons, as being a utopian type of mentality where everybody is equal and everybody is free and there's no judgment. Also, and that only comes, of course, under their enslavement laws, their enslavement rules, their ruling class having control over speech and having control over movement. That's what these cities really are about. But let's get to the first theme, which again is the Tower of Babel. I covered this with the Olympic ceremony. We saw Lucifer depicted in that closing ceremony and them building the Tower of Babel. That is really what we always need to think about when it comes to the New World Order. Most people don't realize that in the book of Genesis, chapter 11, what's being referenced in the Tower of Babel is exactly what they're trying to build now, right? We've seen Amazon with their depiction of their Tower of Babel headquarters that they've created. The New World Order is about the rebuilding of the Tower of Babel. Remember, and I'll read it to you now for those of you that might be new to all of this stuff. God is the one responsible for creating and breaking up language, speech, right? God is the one responsible for taking conspirators who were trying, really what they were doing with the Tower of Babel, as you'll hear in a second, was they were trying to build a tower to reach up to heaven. They literally were trying to overthrow God. They were trying to build a tower up to heaven to defy God. So Genesis chapter 11, and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, "Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone, and slime they for mortar. And they said, "Go to, let us build a city and a tower." That's Babylon and the Tower of Babel, whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men built. And the Lord said, "Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from hence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. So remember the theme with a lot of these social media companies and with technology in general, connecting all of us, right? They're always talking about connecting with loved ones. They're trying to reconnect the entire world as one. And that's really what you're seeing going on here. So this film was made by Francis Ford Coppola. You might remember Francis Ford Coppola for his movies, the Godfather series, for Apocalypse Now. They were very big movies back in the day. He's releasing this pretty much in his 80s as obviously something that's very important to him. to recreate, in a sense, Metropolis, but they don't want to tell you it's Metropolis. They want to tell you it's Megalopolis, which is a modern day depiction of everything that we all saw in Metropolis. So one of the things in the film that you will see is a constant theme of what we look at now as this city, right? This utopian city, this quote unquote smart city. They even show us the theme of shattering through the glass ceiling. You may have heard the theme or a lot of the expressions about breaking through the glass ceiling. This is reference to the firmament. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 8, and God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. The Tower of Babel attempting to go up and break through and reach heaven, right? Like I just read to you in the book of Genesis. The notion of the glass ceiling has to do with recreating and building the Tower of Babel. They're not through with that, with attempting to do that, with uniting the nations as one. And they even show you this theme in the trailer as Adam Driver, who is the main actor in the film, is shown shattering that glass ceiling. And of course, Adam Driver is another one of these actors. He's known for being in the new Star Wars films, not films that I've actually seen, but he does some of the most blatantly obvious all-seeing eye symbolism. He's obviously only famous because he's one of them, as they all are, and you can see the all-seeing eye symbolism over and over and over again. But I'm going to play for you the trailer now for Megalopolis, and keep in mind the theme of this, right? The theme of hope and the future and change, right? Change, moving forward, being progressive. That's the theme that they want you to think about, that people like us, that we have old world mindsets, right? Like they call us archival or like cavemen because we obey God's law, because we look at things through the eyes and the lens of God and the Bible and his word. They look at themselves as progressives, and they actually think by uniting the world as one that they're going to create this utopian society. And let me just read to you a quote from Francis Ford Coppola before I play the trailer. He says, "What's happening in America, in our republic, in our democracy, is exactly how Rome lost their republic thousands of years ago. Our politics have taken us to the point where we might lose a republic. And so it's not people who have become politicians who are going to be the answer. It's the artists of America." And he's talking about, and he's referring to what's happening now with Donald Trump. He says, men like Donald Trump are not at the moment in charge, but there is a trend happening in the world. And that trend is actually all the politicians who are globalists, who are Satanists, being placed in positions of power, not being elected, being placed there. He says, men like Donald Trump are not at the moment in charge, but there's a trend happening in the world. There's a trend toward the more neo-right, even fascist division, which is frightening. Anyone who was alive during World War II saw the horrors that took place, and we don't want a repeat of that. Again, I think it's the role of artists of films to shine a light on what's happening in the world. What you see in films like this is what they're trying to create. They even show you the destruction of what currently exists so that they can rebuild. Because remember, one of the themes is the rebirth, right? So everything you're about to see in the trailer, from the Statue of Liberty coming down, this is what they're trying to do right now, trying to sabotage to bring about this utopian New World Order hell. He even says, imagine society as a branch of civilization that's about to reach a dead end. Sound familiar? Take a look.
Go.
And nothing can prepare you for.
Imagine today's society as a branch of civilization about to reach a dead end. Is this way we're living the only one that's available to us? My plan is a city that people can dream about.
Megalopolis.
Power the people!
Like it the way it is.
People don't need dreams. People need help now.
Don't let the now destroy the forever.
Need of a great debate about the future!
Enjoy the show. There's still so much to accomplish, but is there time?
Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis.
So you even see the theme of evolution, which is something that they created to, of course, try to lead people astray from God, to be able to get to the point they're at now. Really started with them teaching evolution in schools. That's why we live among so many people who trust in the science, aka the magic, who don't believe that God is real. They actually believe in this fiction that they've had beaten into their heads in the school system. Also notice how they showed you a branch of civilization, and you see war, cruelty, inequality, poverty, slavery. All common things that you see with what? The United Nations and Agenda 2030, right? What do we keep hearing about? Inequality, 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 right? Poverty, slavery. But really what it's about is actually building a utopian society of slaves, which is what we would all be underneath this ruling class. So in the trailer, you saw, of course, all-seeing eye symbolism, because that's what this is really about, right? The architect of this, they tell you that the plot, the architect is this guy named Caesar. Might as well just say Antichrist, because really there's a lot of themes of the Antichrist as well. But Lucifer, right? Lucifer's vision, because that is the all-seeing eye of providence, the eye of providence that we see in the back of the dollar bill, the obsession that they have with the eyeball, Lucifer's eye, right? We see an eyeball in the trailer, but don't think anything of it. They all just love eyeballs, right? This is Lucifer's vision for the world. And we see the Statue of Liberty, which again is a symbol that I've covered many times. Of course, Freemasons shipped the Statue of Liberty to this country. It has nothing to do with anything anyone out there actually thinks. You might as well just call it the Statue of Lucifer, really. And then what do you see? Well, you see them cut to their dystopian, what they call utopian smart cities, right? That's what these cities are, because remember, it'll all be functioning on artificial intelligence, which will give them full rule and control over all. They even show you the phoenix rising from the ashes, as well as the white horse symbolism, referencing Revelation chapter 19, verse 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. Well, don't forget that in their inverted sense of how they view things, the white horse actually symbolizes to them the Antichrist and the Antichrist's arrival. We also saw, of course, Masonic pillars, right? Because who are the real architects of this? The same people who refer to themselves as architects, as craftsmen, right? They're craftsmen, all right. They're, the craft of witchcraft, and that goes back to mysticism and sorcery, which is involved in the books of a certain group of people that you're not allowed to discuss. So you actually can see the pillars there, and you see around the pillars the crescent moon, which at the same time in the Masonic lodges, you'll see the two Masonic pillars, which they refer to as Joshin and Boaz. You can even see in a lot of their artwork the crescent moon next to those pillars. And the pillars are something that we even see in a lot of the teachings of a specific group of people that you can't talk about when it comes to the tree of life and mystical symbolism of the creation of the universe. It also has symbolism, the pillars, with portals. The two pillars standing at the gate as a gateway of a sacred place. You also saw spirals being featured in the trailer. Again, these are a lot of things that you wouldn't normally pick up on because, like I've talked about, you go into a delta brainwave when you watch these things, when we all watch these things. Unless you pull yourself out and you actually watch this consciously, you start seeing the signs and the symbols, right? They love using this spiral symbol. They use it lots of times. We know the spiral symbol has a lot to do with acts that are done with children, but we also know that the spiral, again, is the circle and the cycle of birth, life, and death, the rebirth, the spiritual rebirth that they believe so much in. Rebirth and transformation is a common theme in the New World Order. So let me move from Megalopolis to Metropolis, because the key term in both of these films is the word utopia. The plot for Metropolis is this influential German science fiction film presents a highly stylized futuristic city, kind of like what you just saw, where a beautiful and cultured utopia exists above a bleak underworld populated by mistreated workers. When the privileged youth Freder discovers the grim scene under the city, he becomes intent on helping the workers. He befriends the rebellious teacher, but this puts him at odds with his authoritative father, leading to greater conflict. In this clip, I'll play for you a clip that really well shows the entire film in 3 minutes, where you can see the themes of this Babylon being rebuilt, the Tower of Babel, as well as transformation, transhumanism, mixing of man and machine. All of this stuff in Metropolis as well. Take a look. So again, you can't tell me when that film came out in 1927 that Lucifer didn't have a plan in place then. We're 100 years almost to when Metropolis came out. Here's your remake called Megalopolis, which they'll tell you isn't a remake, that it's not exactly the same film. It's just an updated version of this, which is what most movies are. They update the same themes. They're trying to ingrain these themes of utopia into your mind. They're trying to ingrain these themes of constant transformation into people's minds. And that's why they keep recreating the same exact films and renaming them. They all have the same themes to them. If they're not using it for predictive programming, to program you into believing things like that, we have at least half of our society believes that aliens are flying around in flying saucers, but they don't believe in demons. They don't believe in the fallen angels. They believe only in UFOs and aliens, and that's all come from that being polluted into their minds through propaganda and through all these movies over the years, and then mixing in how the government's hiding secrets from them about aliens on Mars and all that stuff, and it creates an alternate reality in their minds. So that's predictive programming. But this here, this common obsession that you can see, is this utopian society which will not exist, where they're brainwashing people into thinking that they can create this. It is going to be enslavement under the guise of love and tolerance and acceptance. That is the theme that most people out there do not see with this utopian hell. You will be giving up all human rights to Lucifer and his minions. And the constant obsession that you see is the recreation of the Tower of Babel. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always and your families.